First one to say that, if you look at something like $300 silver, it looks sensational. My goal is not to be sensational. It's basically to look at what I think an ultimate target, an ultimate high could be. And I'm talking about in some kind of a mania phase for the silver market, where you would have just absolute, people are losing their minds. They have to have silver. You've got this fear of missing out, this FOMO happening. And so, people can't get enough silver and can't get it fast enough. I don't think Keith Neumeyer's $100 silver is unrealistic. My forecast is that, again, in a mania phase, ultimately, it could easily run well above that.
Silver is indisputably the breakout story of the year. Though there has been a loud silence from mainstream media platforms, the white metal is having a very good month. Gold shot to a new all-time high of $2,449.97 in the early hours of Monday. Yet another surprising upside move for the leading precious metal that has now established itself to be in a strong bull market. But the real breakout story is silver hitting $32. Shortly before gold hit new all-time highs on Monday, silver hit a record peak of $32.38, the metal's highest price since late 2012. Though analysts and financial commentators have been predicting these strong moves for ages, many silver investors had lost hope of strong price moves in silver. With the latest upside moves, silver prices have climbed by over 43% since hitting a low of $22.60 in December 2023. In contrast, gold prices have only appreciated by 21% over the same period. Despite the strong moves in silver, experts believe there is more to come. According to Peter Krauth, a renowned expert in the precious metals sector, we are currently in the second leg of a generational commodities bull market that started in the early 2000s. Krauth's work is primarily centered around the silver market, which is why he is popularly known as the Great Silver Bull. In a recent interview with Jan Wilhoft, Krauth gives a bombshell $300 prediction for silver, explaining that he believes the precious metal is heading towards a mania phase that would see tens of millions scrambling for the limited supply and finding out that there is hardly any silver left. Krauth says silver prices will easily shoot past First Majestic CEO Keith Neumeyer's $100 estimate to hit a record high of $300 per ounce when that phase begins. During the interview, Krauth backs up his prediction with three important metrics, which were key price drivers during previous silver bull markets. We will present clips from Peter Krauth's interview. But before we do, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications bell for more videos like this. Thank you and enjoy the video.
When I looked at what I thought could be an ultimate high in the silver price, I did it in what I feel is a rational way. I looked at history and I looked at different indicators and different metrics, and I applied them to silver now. And I said to myself, okay, well, what target does that suggest? One of the widely followed and most easily understood is the gold-silver ratio. And the gold-silver ratio is very simply, for your viewers, the number of silver ounces it takes to buy one gold ounce at any given point in time. If you look at what happened in the last true silver bull, let's say, I'm going to say secular silver bull, which was in the 1970s, the gold-silver ratio bottomed around 14 or 15. Used what I feel were you have to make assumptions. This is the only way you can work with these numbers and apply the indicators. So I made an assumption for myself that ultimately in this secular bull market that gold would reach, say, $5,000. I don't feel $5,000 gold seems all that unattainable anymore. But if you apply the gold-silver ratio with gold at $5,000 and you apply just 15 to 1, you're at $333 silver. So that to me is close enough to $300. Then what I did, so that's one way that I got to somewhere close to $300 for silver. And as I say, we've seen that if you use, some people think gold will go to $10,000. If you use $10,000 gold, and you use a higher gold to silver ratio, let's say 30. So that's easier to attain. It's not as low. But with $10,000 gold, you're still at $333 silver. So that's the gold silver ratio indicator. Then there's inflation, and what I call, say, true inflation rather than, the headline inflation, which is, say 3% or so lately. So I'm being, I think, very reasonable, and I'm saying true inflation is closer to about 7 to 8%. So if you go back to 1980 and you adjust the silver price from its peak in 1980 at $50, and you project even just to today with 7 or 8%, then you get a range of, say, at 7, $240, and at 8%, $360 silver. So I go in between and I say $300 again within that range seems fair. And there are a few other indicators, but I'll explain sort of one last one, and that is the home price indicator. And so this is home prices in the US. And in 1980, if you looked at the average home price and you converted to silver, when silver peaked in 1980, it took 1,500 ounces of silver at $50 to buy the average US home. If you look at today, the average home in the US is about $500,000. And if you divide by 1,500 ounces of silver, which is what it took in 1980 when silver peaked, you would be at, again, $333. So I bring that price down again. Average, when you're forecasting, round numbers are fine. There's no point in being very specific. It would be silly. So I say $300. So those are three ways that I get to $300 silver.
Krauth believes the bull market is just starting, and there is adequate evidence that it'll be sustained for an extended period. In another recent interview, the metals analyst shared two important factors to support claims that we are now in a full commodity and resource stock bull market. The first is how gold broke out to set a new all-time high across all major currencies. Peter says this tandem shows a lot of strength, which is very bullish for the precious metals sector. This could potentially lead to significant returns for investors, sparking optimism and excitement in the market. The second is the low market sentiment. Despite significantly higher prices for both gold and silver, FOMO has yet to kick in. If anything, retail investors are showing a lot of caution, especially for silver, because of the performance of the previous years. Krauth believes this shows strength rather than weakness for both metals. Let's get back to the interview.
I don't think Keith Neumeyer's $100 silver is unrealistic. My forecast is that, again, in a mania phase, ultimately, it could easily run well above that. I don't think it would stay there. It would wreak havoc on industry, of course, which consumes lots of silver. They would, be looking to substitute. It would price their products out of the market. And again, I don't think it would necessarily be sustainable, but is it attainable? That I do think it is. I mean, I am, as you can imagine, very bullish, but bullish because of what I've seen and understanding the current situation and the current setup, not just silver, but gold and other junior explorers, in particular for other metals, copper, for example, and others. Copper has overall held up a little bit better, but gold and silver juniors have been very dramatically sold off. They're just incredibly cheap. And it's interesting that you mentioned Rick, because in a recent presentation that I did, I said, silver is what I call a patience trade. It's very much like Bitcoin, and it's very much like uranium. And in that slide, I show recent charts of both Bitcoin and uranium, let's say going back about a year to a year and a half. And up until about a month or so ago, in the prior 6 months, both of those assets had doubled in price. And yet, if you looked at how they had behaved for a few years prior, they'd mostly gone sideways and then just exploded higher. And that's why I say silver is a patience trade, much like both Bitcoin and uranium tend to be. You get these long periods of very quiet, and then it absolutely explodes higher. I had a quote under those two charts from Rick, which said, the silver equities are incredibly cheap, to the point where the value is so strong that he considers them stupidly cheap, that the market really is not in tune with the value that there is there. And silver, even more than gold, is such a small market. I know because I researched the stocks in the sector, try to look for the best quality stocks. And it's a narrow pool. It's a very small pool of companies that really have the best quality, either exploration projects or mines in production or in development and so on. So they're extremely undervalued. What investors should look for, I mean, these are the kinds of things I think people know, but they need to still exercise that the effort to do the research. You want the right people with experience in very much related either prior projects or companies. You want projects that have high grade and or scale potential, so the potential to grow considerably or already be large. You want preferably jurisdictions that are conducive to allow for mining, that are mining friendly. More difficult these days, but you'd ideally want companies that are in a favorable cash position, that are not forced to go back to the market and end up, of course, naturally diluting shareholders. So these are the kinds of things that you want to look for. As I say, it's a small pool, but the best of the best will absolutely perform exceedingly well, I think, in the upcoming bull.
Krauth's prediction of an impending mania phase for silver is an optimism shared by many others in the industry due to the metal's worsening supply-demand dynamics. Rapidly decreasing supply and increasing demand lead to higher prices for all commodities, even a clearly suppressed one like silver. What are your thoughts on Krauth's $300 price prediction for silver? Please drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Also, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications bell so you get notified every time we upload a video. We appreciate the support and see you in the next one.